Hey, I'm gonna just show you guys some stuff about this washer. So this one has a problem that stains clothes with like a rust type of greasy type color stain. Not too bad, just drips here and there on the clothes. So first thing to take it apart, at the front you take off 2 screws at the bottom and then the front panel pops off. At the back you have to take out screws all around and it pops off. You have to take out the drain hose that would be right there. It is connected at the front with just a friction clip down there. You just clamp it with, I clamped it with vice grips, put something around, some pliers around that size. It's a green clip. It looks like that clip in the back there too. Same thing. So pull that hose out, water will go all over the place, so be careful. Cut any zip ties back here that are in the way and disconnect this out of the motor. It's just you press on it and it comes out. And now I'm on to the shock absorbers. I will show you how to get those out in a minute. So these plastic type pins are what hold the shock absorbers on. How I got it off was I just, from the end, with needle nose pliers, I clamped this piece down and I pushed. And then once I got it past that piece, I came to the other side and pulled it right out and it came out no problem. So before we start getting closer to getting the whole drum out, you have to peel off this seal. You just get underneath it and peel slowly so it doesn't rip. Some of the places are kind of sticky. There's a twist spring up here. So you have to work at that spring for a bit to get it off. And you pull it all off like that. So that's good for the seal. I plan on taking the motor off after, but since these springs are kind of hard to get off, I'm going to take it off before so it's less heavy. So I'm just going to get the belt off. Inspect the belt, make sure it's not cracked, get a new one if it is, or any signs of wear. And then these 2 bolts down here I have to take off. These bolts are 8mm. Also 2 in the very back, same size but gonna need a long extension for them. Not gonna show me getting that one off because it's far back, but I got those 2 bolts out and the motor comes out. I'm now gonna work at the springs. You won't be able to see much. Also, something I didn't mention was at the front, before you begin trying to take the drum off, you have to loosen that Phillips head screw. It's a clamp, hose clamp, and you have to take that off. Also, another thing I didn't mention is you have to take that off right here. get that off before taking it apart. It's just a friction clip in there. You might have to stick a flathead screwdriver in there to get it out. I'm having a hard time getting the springs undone because of the weight. I have no one to help me, so I'm going to take off this counterweight up here. Two 11mm bolts. Would help if I had a ratcheting wrench, but I don't. So the counterweight just slides out after you back the nuts off a bit, so you don't actually have to take the bolts right out because it's slotted in the end here. They just clamp down on it. So I had to take off the top panel. The springs weren't coming out any other way. You just take out all the Phillips head screws on the top, and now I'll be able to take these two off, the shields for the springs, and then I'll be able to lift it up and get the springs out. I don't think you could get them off from the bottom there. Also, there's this hose up here. You have to just pop out. Comes from the detergent box there. So after getting the top springs off, you want to make sure everything's disconnected good like that. That hose kind of gets in the way, so get it out of the way or have someone hold it out of the way. I think that would be best. And then lift it out. It's pretty heavy because there are counterweights on the front, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, try not to damage anything. It's pretty hard to do. Then I'm going to take this apart and see where the damage is inside. I did decide to take off the front weight. It has 11mm nuts all along and long bolts that you actually have to take right out this time. I took that out just so it would be easier to work on, save some weight. Then to get the seal completely off the tub, I'm going to carefully stick a screwdriver under there and peel it off. And peel the whole seal off. Oh, that's gunky in there. I'm going to have to clean that up. Now, I've seen this done a few different ways to take this bolt off. I've seen some people stick poles or screwdrivers in here, jam this against it, and then uncrank this with a normal wrench or ratchet with socket. I'm going to use an impact gun. I think it will work best. Yeah, perfect. I'm not sure if that's fine for it, but I think I'd rather do that than risk damaging the plastic here. Gonna just wiggle this until it comes off. I don't need a puller. So now this bearing was replaced, I don't know, 5 years ago in this. This bearing looks fine for the most part, but I don't really know what I'm looking at all. But from what I've seen online and stuff, I'm guessing one of the bearings, I think there's this bearing and another bearing on the other side. I'm guessing one of the bearings is rusting and contaminating the water, which gets that rusty colored drips on the clothes. So I'm gonna continue on and see what it shows. So around the whole drum, holding the two halves together, there's 10mm bolts. Again, I'm going to use the impacts. It's going to come off really quick. I'm not going to ratchet at this for half an hour. Again, I don't know what the proper way is. This is plastic, so who knows if it'll strip the hell out of it. I'm no pro at this. This is actually the first one I've ever taken apart. So don't get mad at me if this wrecks your washing machine. Now, when you put it back together, you're definitely going to want to hand crank it, and you're definitely going to want to hand crank it like you're putting on a head on an engine doing a new gasket. You're going to want to bring the screw to like almost hitting here, and then do them all to that, and then crank them, you know, quarter, half turn at once, so the seal seals properly at the same time as everything else. You don't want to crank this one down, that one down, that one, that one, that one, and maybe push out the seal at one point. But this I'm just going to go at it. Go at everyone, and it's going to be quick. You get the point. So I'm going to stop the video and I'll get back to you. Again, I got all these bolts out. Only thing left holding it is these pins again. So I'll give you actually a better look at how I get them out. Frig. Oh yeah, that's fine. Pull on the other end. Give it some twist too. Oh, no problem. Whole thing comes off. Like so. Slippery inside with all the gunk. So here I'm going to take the barrel out. With the it'll have the spindle on the end. You don't want to damage that spindle, so make sure you set it somewhere nice. This might take a bit of force. I'm actually going to tap on the other side with a hammer on the spindle. A hammer that won't damage it. Whew, not going anywhere. So this is going to take some force to get the spindle out. So I moved the plastic drum, whatever you want to call it, to the grass, so you don't damage the plastic. If you're in a house or whatever, put down some kind of mat. Again, you do not want to go at this with a metal hammer. It will wreck the hell out of this, and then you're into a whole nother problem. So I've pushed the spindle right flush with the bearing now, and it's still in there. So I've put the bolt back on. I recommend not doing this because you might damage the threads inside on the spindle, but it is my only option right now. So I'm going to hit the head of the bolt to give me more travel for hitting the spindle. Also, I was kind of just tapping the bearing around, which you don't want to do. You do not want to hit the bearing. I think we might be good here. I'll give it a few more taps. It's coming out. Threads look good on the bolt, so, but definitely not the best way, I don't think. No, still no good. Worst comes to worst, I'm going to use a punch on the face of this spindle. I can't see that creating any problems since the wheel, the pulley that goes on this, mates to the inside of it, not the face or anything. But I'm just gonna try and like this. It'd be nice to have a really long one of these bolts with the same thread so I can get full thread engagement and have it poke out a lot. Actually, I'm gonna take off the washers. That might help. Yeah, there we go. I think I have it now. Yep. Okay, so we see this. This is crazy. I'm gonna move this around. Holy shit. Whew. This is exactly what I expected. Gotta wash my hands now before I grab the camera. Supposedly, now, I guess my mom didn't read the instruction manual. Supposedly you're supposed to do like a lime rinse or something like that. I don't know the name of it. I'm not a pro on this. A lime rinse every month. Just run the washer with a little, some kind of lime detergent in it. But look at this spindle, holy crap. Obviously the clothes were getting stained. Wow, got a good visual on it there. And then the whole back of the barrel is just stained to crap too. So the first thing is I have to find out, this bearing is the bad one. The one in here isn't too bad. That's just from what got on it just now. But this bearing and that seal underneath definitely need replaced. That was causing all that gunk. I think I'm good other than that though, as long as the spindle doesn't need replaced, which would be the whole drum. Actually, this one is bolted on, so I could just replace the spider. That wouldn't be too bad if I need a new spindle. Look at that, there's like puke in there, it almost looks like. That is horrible. Anyways, I might just get the pressure washer out and go crazy on this. So I'll clean it up and I'll get back to you. So in the plastic barrel drum part, it has the outer bearing. So it isn't the problem, but I'm going to replace it anyway because kits come with both, and because I don't want to rip it apart, and because when I'm cleaning this I don't want to pummel it with water. So here I'm going to use a wood punch. There are many wrong ways to do this. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it one of them. But this bearing I won't be using again, so it's not a big deal. But to get it back in, you only want to hit on the outer race. On the outer edge of the bearing is the only place you want to hit, or you might damage it. Well, you pretty much will damage it. This tool is for bikes, headsets and bikes. It almost fits. This would be the perfect tool. You just hit on the end and it would pop right out. But the grab here is too small. Diameter needs to be bigger for this bearing. So this is going to take a while, but I'm going to just quickly show you how I'm going to do it. I saw one guy using a chisel. It looked like to be a railway tie made into a chisel. Oh yeah, I just screwed the bearing already. I mashed in the seal, but as I said, I'm replacing it. Not a big deal. This is crazy. There's actually not much of a race to catch on to with a punch or a chisel. I might just, yeah, I might just use this guy. Go right into it. At least with this, I get an even hit. All around. Popped it out. We get a close up of that. Wow, it's even with the seal mashed in, it still spins pretty well, because this one's good, but not anymore after I hit it. So that's the bearing. Another big thing is, and why I like that bike tool, hitting it straight out, instead of hitting it like on the corners at one time, is there's no way you're going to damage the bearing seat in there. So that's nice. Nice cheap way to get replacement bearings. Sure, you can look up the model number and everything of your washer, but this guy, and all bearings pretty much, sealed bearings, have a number on them. And you just search that up on eBay and you can get them pretty cheap sometimes. Now, you want to be careful with what you get. You may not want the cheapest one. Maybe it's best just to go with a good supplier and get a quality bearing that's sealed from the water for one, and that has quality bearings. ABAC 9 is decent. It's pretty good. You probably don't want ABAC 1. That's the roundness of the bearing itself and the races. The more round, the more smooth of the races, better quality bearing, will last longer. And in this case, since this is a big job to rip it all apart, you don't want to be doing this every year or every 6 months. So I'd say spend the money on the bearing. Don't wreck it when putting it back in. So to get this bearing out, which is the one I really need out, before I clean it, I want to get it out because I'm going to clean the spindle underneath it. You probably, I'm guessing, you probably want something like this, but a 3-jaw puller would be better. This one isn't big enough, it doesn't reach. You need something a lot bigger than that to reach the bearing. But you want to pull it off that way. Put maybe the bolt on top so you don't damage the threads. Hard to say. Maybe on a bigger one that will be bigger, so that'd be decent. Grab the sides of the bearings, pull it off. I might try to undo it and then punch it off another way, but I'm gonna look at my options here. So I found this 2-jaw puller. It's actually pretty nice. It has the travel I need just barely, as you can see. I couldn't get these jaws underneath the bearing, so I had to put them underneath the seal. Hopefully it goes well. I'm gonna go ahead and try. Again, a 3-jaw puller would be better. Again, I'm no pro. Maybe this isn't how you're supposed to do it, but this is how I'm gonna do it. Some penetrating lube in there would obviously help because it's a pretty rusted up situation. And turn it slowly and watch for it moving up. It may just be squishing the seal right now. Looks like it's coming to me. I can just put something underneath this barrel so it doesn't scratch the hell out of the front. Just put a floor mat under it from a car. It'll do a hell of a lot of difference for that. You can see this is getting kind of cocked here. Ooh. I can go penetrating oil. Something very bad just happened. I got a longer ratchet, a longer wrench on the puller, and it split the outer race right in half. The other half ended up in the pool. So yeah, there's the bearing there. Won't be able to get it off now because, well, actually I might try. I might try to grip the inner race, but either way it's pretty dangerous doing it like this. Things go flying and very fast. I've been reading online, everyone just replace. You can't get the spider alone, which is annoying as hell because it's bolt on, it's not riveted. You have to buy the whole basket, the whole metal basket, and replace the whole assembly, which is like, I think the cheapest one I saw was $250 or something US. For a washer this old, I think it's not worth it. But I'm gonna keep on going and see if I get anywhere with it. Okay, so hasn't gone so well. The bearing is obviously pressed on there with a lot of force, or it's been gotten swollen up from the rust. So I was talking to my friend who's an auto mechanic. This is very close to same idea kind of as a wheel bearing in a car. So he says that he can press a new one on with his shop press. You'd have to go to a car dealership or a mechanic shop or a tool and die place, machine shop, whatever, to get that done. But to get the inner race off, he says score it with a die grinder pretty deep, but obviously not right to the spindle, and then hit it with an air hammer to fracture it and crack it off. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going a bit far with this. I'm not sure if I'll even complete it, but like complete the whole fix with this, but I'm gonna try. All I know is I'm not gonna buy a new spider assembly that's attached to the barrel. Need a new battery. Okay, back with a charged battery. We'll try this again. Obviously, when you're doing this, remember safety classes and everything. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you've never done this stuff before. Just bring it to the machine shop or whatever and get them to do it from here on. Like cut it, remove it, press a new one on. Okay, I'm going to try the air hammer next, see if it gets it off. Might have to cut some more, but we'll see. Okay, got my air compressor full and the air hammer ready. So I'm going to try it. Right in between. Woo! Yeah, I didn't think this would be easy, but I have to keep on going at it. Got it. See that? That was awesome. Broke it. That is perfect. Don't know what we're getting it off still though. See if I can get zoomed in more. Still don't think I'll be able to get it off by hand, but jeez, yeah, that's still on there pretty good. Woo! So that looks like it worked pretty well, actually. I'm impressed. Gonna make sure I didn't do any damage to the spindle where the bearing seat is. Looks perfect. Yeah, that's exactly how I wanted it to come off. Just cut it really thin, and then actually I didn't even break the cut. It let enough tension off when I cut that much into it and hit it with the air hammer. Ooh, I don't know if you guys will be able to see because it's really small. Yeah, you can barely see it, but it's there. I did scrape it a bit with the air hammer getting it off. That's not what you want to do, but I'm not gonna complain. I think I'm gonna go for it anyway and replace it. It's not that bad. Yeah. Yeah, so this part is not the race. That must ride on something else. This is the race right here. Or the bearing race contact surface, I should say. So yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of rust removal of that as much as I can, and then send it off to the machine shop once I get a bearing. Also, I did break, not these ones, but on the other side, I did break 2 bolts off inside there. So I hit it with some penetrating lube, and I will try to back those out. Broke the heads of the bolts right off, so I'll have to get new bolts too. Anyways, I'll get back to you once I get farther again. So here's the back of the Spider. There's the 2 bolts that snapped off in there when I was removing them. I am not going to pursue any farther with this. I broke a drill bit off in there, so now it's even harder to drill out. I could weld a bolt on and then back that out, but I'm not going to bother. So I'm gonna sell all the leftover parts from this that are still good, and I'm gonna scrap the rest. Sorry for not providing you guys with a final product, but it is definitely possible to press a new bearing on here and throw it back together, and I'm sure it would be fine, but I am not going to end up doing that. Anyways, if you have any questions, just put them below. Thanks for watching.